I'm back. Well, what have we got today? Well, we've got this thing down here. This is part of a thing called Verdugo series of pedals. And this comes from NUX, or NUX as some people would call it, particularly in the West. Yes, it's a pedal that, well, after looking at recent other pedals, similarly, that simulate amplifiers, this one simulates, well, a whole pile of them. You can't wait to see it, and neither can I. Now, just so we're clear about this review, it's not very often that I'll look at a product that somebody sends me. I get offers for them all the time, and all sorts of other things as well that I could pin onto the videos for, well, substantial money really for what it is. But I don't often do it. But in the case of NUX, I decided to go ahead and have a look at what they've got to say. So I had a call off Michael, who works for Cherub Technology, which is the manufacturing company. And he said, oh yeah, we've got a new pedal. This pedal's Verdugo, and it's got a model number down here, NGS-6. And of course I was intrigued, but I want you to know that I didn't pay for this pedal. It's there by, well, from the fact that they sent it to me. But I wanted to look at it so much after looking at those other UA pedals recently. They did a fantastic job, but looking at this one, yeah, I'm very surprised so far, and I think you will be too. It won't change my view because, as Michael said, well, in fact I wrote it down on a little note here. Michael said, share your thoughts, good or bad, to your viewers, and that's exactly what he said. And to me, that's a company that, yeah, that you should listen to. So what I want to do with this one is I'll look at an outside of it, an inside of it. In fact, I'm going to look at the whole darn thing and all of the amplifiers that it covers. Now, you don't want to underestimate this pedal. It's looking after about 6 amps or more. It can do piles and piles of things. And the technology, they say, is right up there with the best. So let's whip it out of the box and start to have a look at what you really get when you buy it. Well, okay, this is as it comes. This is exactly as I received it. And very nice box. In fact, it's very similar in many ways to the UA box that I saw on the Dream 65. Very nice box. I think theirs was a little bit different in design, but still a great box. Let's have a look at what you get. Right from the off, this pedal looks great. So I'm going to slip it out of its case because we're going to get really close to this one. Well, what else do you get? Well, you get a manual. Little manual. Oh, you get a warranty card. That's nice. More on all this later. And it looks to me like you get some sort of cable. Yeah. This looks like a serial port cable, something like that. We'll look at that later. More about the pedal. Let's get close up and personal. Okay, well, looking at this pedal a bit closer, you can see that it's pretty well made. This is called Amp Academy, and it's the NGS-6, which is a new pedal for NUX. And I think it looks absolutely awesome. In fact, its overall impression, honestly, is similar to that I saw with the UA pedals recently, the Dream 65 in particular. Very, very nice approach to, well, to what I call an amp pedal. And this can support, by the way, at least 6 amps and lots of other features and stuff like that. But we'll come back to that later. What I want to do first with this is to get inside and have a good look at what's in there and the overall quality. Now you can see on the back of this pedal there are no actual screws, and what you've got to do is take off these rubbers and undo the 4 screws so we can get inside. I'm going to go and do that right now. Well there, that wasn't rocket science. I've just moved the little rubbers out of the way. And for the very first time you will have never seen inside before one of these before. But yeah, it doesn't look too bad either. I want to go a bit further than this, rather than just looking at the back. And I'm going to unscrew some of the screws so we can get further, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, well here's a quick look into the inside of the case, and you can see it's a sort of cast type of case. Quite a nice product actually. You can tell it's not one of the cheaper things kicking around. Let's move on to the PCB, because that's it's a bit hard to get out of here, by the way. Anybody who wants to have a go, feel free, but I'll show you what I found. Okay, here we are inside the NUX NGS-6. You can see it comprises of a number of components, 3 basic boards. You've got an I/O sorter board there. You've got this board here, and there's one down on the bottom, which we'll get to see. But you can see straight off that it tends to be all surface mounted technology, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is very high quality, in fact. Very high indeed. Not too much to see there, so what I'm going to do is flip it over so we can get a bit closer. Well, taking a look at this board first, or these 2 boards if you will. As I said, this one is a sort of I/O board. Well, they're both I/O boards really, I guess. There's some more I/O down the bottom. It's all very well made and all very high quality, and I don't see anything that's particularly nasty. You don't know what I mean. Everything's surface mount, it's come off a machine, it's very high quality. And, well, there's little else to say, but it's all very good quality, and that's the main thing. Of course, this other board on the right-hand side here is the basic processor board, and you can see it's linked with this cable here, and I honestly don't recommend that many people actually go and try and pull this thing apart, because it's not easy to pull apart. Not that it's detracting from the product itself. It's not meant to be pulled apart, is it? Unless you get a major problem or something. But yeah, these are the 2 foot switches, and the foot switches are on the board here, and they have the buttons that come from the top and press on there. Yeah, very interesting stuff. Let's move a bit further to the main processor, which is, I'm sure that a lot of people will want to see that. Well, here we are. So this is like a board that's got all the controls on it and the switches on it and things like that. And there it is, the main processing power of the unit. You can see that it can be pulled out. All you need to do is undo that 1 screw, and you can flip this processing board out and maybe flip a new one in if you wanted to. I doubt they'll ever come along and, but you never know, they might come along with a board that could upgrade this unit to something more powerful maybe. Who knows? It's obviously in the hands of the gods, is that. I know little about any of that, but quality-wise, once again, it's pretty excellent. And if I look at that chip, that processor chip, yeah, it looks like an NXP MIM XRT 1176DVM AA. And I'll be looking at that once we get away from this particular, internal view. That's one aspect. I think these are probably memory-related things. And there might even be more chips underneath that, but I'm not going to go any further. I just wanted to show you the way it's built and the quality of it. And these switches all look great, and the potentiometers are pretty cool too. Very high quality stuff all over. And I notice even at the end here, you can only just see them, but they've got sort of metal connectors on the 6.3mm jacks, which is nice to see. Now there are a few other chips floating around. There's one there, and there's some on the other board behind, which I might take a look at depending on what they are and what information I can find out. But I wanted to show you that. Yeah, the quality and the rest of it. Really very nice. Yeah, I'm going to go and put this back together, and then we can have a quick look at the external part of the unit, the bit we're going to be using. It always matters. Everything matters. Always remember that. There, that wasn't too bad, was it? I have it back together. What do you mean? You didn't think I could do that? Of course I can do that. I've been in far more complex products than this one. But this is no slouch, I can tell you that. Anyway, the NUX Amp Academy pedal that this one is, the NGS-6. Yeah, oh my God, don't pull it apart. Let's look at the top here, just as an overview. It'd be nice when we get to the software and all the rest of it, I suppose. But what you've got is you've got bass, middle, treble, and a presence. Now those are just like any old amp. Well, if you know what I mean. You know what they do, and there's little else to say about them, really. Well, one of the things about these other switches and the rest of it, some of them are pretty obvious, like gain, master, boost, and noise reduction. Yeah. But then you've got these little switches down here that do other things, and they change the way that, well, each one of these other switches is, in effect. So if you're looking at these 3 amps here, you've got a vintage, a classic, and a modern. You can see them. Above this one, you've got the brown, the red, and the Iridium. Well, you can already get an idea of what sort of amps these are, can't you? We can go from the old classic type of amp to the metal and beyond, and selected by those two there. More on the amps later on and the rest of it. I just want to get further down the road. We've also got this S1, S2 and S3 here. You see, inside this unit, it supports a thing called scenes. Now, more about that later on, but there's scene 1, scene 2 and scene 3. And for the people that have got eagle eyes, well, there's a scene button down there. You can also see, if you look close, reverb there with a decay and level, depending on where the other knobs are set and things like that. We'll come back to that. Well, as we will for a lot of these things. A little bit more about that scene button. Yeah. Basically, if you press it for just a short time, the scene foot switch can toggle scene 1, scene 2 and scene 3 sequentially going round and round. There's a scene LED there if you look at it, and basically that will show blue in scene 1, purple in scene 2 and red in scene 3. You can also use the scene toggle switch that I talked about to choose a related scene. Yeah, very, very useful, and sort of reminds me of other products. If you do hold this scene button down for at least 1.5 seconds, you can enter to an alt mode to tweak the reverb. Remember the reverb at the top. In the meantime, scene LED indicator will flash this one to show an alt mode. Press the scene foot switch again and you get back out of it into the regular mode. Well, this scene stuff's always good, but that's how you can whiz across and set that reverb. And of course you've got this other switch down here, this AB foot switch, there it is. And you've got 2 LEDs that change colour depending on which amp. This LED indicator will show green in vintage mode, yellow in classic mode, and red in modern mode. The B LED indicator will show deep red when it's in brown mode, light red when it's in red mode, and orange in Iridium mode. Yeah. And if we think about the amps, we've got a number of amps. The A switch, which I've already discussed a little bit, that works like vintage is like a twin reverb, classic is Vibro King, modern is Cali Crunch. And on this one over here, the B toggle switch, this one's got brown equals Fireman, I suppose that's Friedman, red equals dual recto, or a dual rectifier from Mesa Boogie, and Iridium says it's Uber. Now Uber to me could be any one of a couple of amps, like either a Bogner or maybe a diesel. It's one or the other, but we'll find out later when we go and look at the software. Okay, well, here we are having a quick look around the back. Yeah, I think that matters, don't you? Oh, you know what an input is? Well, there's more to it than just an input. Anyway, let's move on. Input jack, pretty obvious. It's where your guitar goes. You could probably even put all the units, all the products, you know, in there for amplification. Who knows? We'll find out. Well, maybe we will find out. But it does say in the manual, guitar. Moving along a little bit, you've got a DI ground lift or an IR out, on or off. So you can turn that off if you don't want the actual IR. You could be going into an amp. Yeah, so the DI has a ground lift or not. Yeah. There's an output there. Pretty obvious what that is. And you've got an insert jack, which is the one that we saw, well, we didn't see, but this is really like a send and return, this one here. Yeah, all very interesting stuff, and it does include the cable for you to do that. It says there, tip send, ring return, and that's where you insert other things. Yeah, could be good, or not, depending on what you do. But if you're going to be replacing an amplifier, you know, for live stuff, remember you still need to get some amplification as such. This doesn't have, you know, 100 watts in it or anything silly. It's a simulator, not an actual amp. Yeah, you've got a USB there, which I like to see. That's looks like a USB Type C to me. And down at the bottom, you've got a DC 9 volt, which is sent to negative. And I do know that it doesn't actually use more than 300 milliamps of power. So that's also pretty nice, but it's all pretty standard stuff really. The only thing I like is that they are metal. And I remember a guy pointing out to me that on the UA, the Dream 65, that, oh yeah, well that's all well and good, Tony, but the plastic connectors, he said. And he was right. These ones, at least on the outside, are metal. There's another little bit on this amp. We've got an aux in, which is this one, and we've got a set of headphones. I know it's small size, it's the only thing that I wouldn't like too much, but it will work, I'm sure. And then you've got the DI out, which for me is pretty important in the sort of stuff I do, but it could be for you as well. Do remember that you can connect this thing to, well, loads of stuff, front of house, I don't know, you go and figure. I'm sure you'll come up with something. I did like to see this as well, something that's not really promoted on many other pedals. But this one's telling you that they use choptones.com custom IRs, and they're inside this thing and inside the software, no doubt. So it's all going to be fun, yeah. And that's not bad stuff either, you know. You might think, oh, I've never heard of that one. Well, some people would say that. But yeah, this stuff's been around a while, and yeah, it sounds pretty good to me. Okay, well, we're getting there now with the completion of looking at the outside of the thing, and we've looked at the inside. Then maybe we'll talk a little bit about those chips, and then we can get on with the software and then playing it and all that stuff. It's going to be great fun. Oh yeah, I can crank this one up, I think. I'm not really a 1965 Fender amp guy, but yeah, some of the ones in this one, oh my God, come out of the way. We'll see how good they are, won't we? Anyway, looking around the back, you can see that it's the NUX Verdugo. I hope I pronounced that right. That's how I'd say it in England. It's got FCC approvals, CE approvals, and it's got this WEEE to tell you not to throw it in the bin. There's the website, www.nuxefx.com. It's made in China, it proudly proclaims, and I know that it is because I spoke with the guys. That's its model, NGS-6, and there's my serial number, so there. Do I care? No, not at all. Well, here we are, all talking about chips. Yeah, no fish in here. But the thing is, a lot of people want to know what's inside this thing. After all, it matters, doesn't it? It's what you're buying. And if you had an underpowered chip, for example, well, you could end up with, well, a slow response on the processor, or it can't do this or it can't do that, so on and so forth. So today what we're going to do in this section is to have a quick look at the series of processors and memory and ADC and DAC. The first one we're going to look at is the main processor, and that's an interesting device in itself. I've seen it in other similar types of pedals, simulator pedals before. So it's not new to me, and it's certainly not new probably to most people that look for that sort of thing. So let's put this processor up on screen now and have a little chat about it. The i.MX RT1170 series is a new high-end processor of the i.MX RT family, which features NXP's advanced implementation of a high-performance ARM Cortex-M7 core operating at speeds up to 1 gig, and I can tell you that this one does operate at 1 gigahertz. And it also includes a power-efficient Cortex-M4 core that operates up to 400 MHz. The i.MX RT1170 processor's got 2 meg of on-chip RAM, including 768 kilobytes of RAM, which can be flexibly configured as TCM 512K RAM shared with M7 TCM and 256K RAM shared with M4 TCM, or general purpose on-chip RAM. The i.MX RT1170 integrates advanced power management module with DC-DC and LDO regulators that reduce the complexity of external power supplies and simplifies the power sequencing. The i.MX RT1170 also provides various memory interfaces including SD-RAM, RAW NAND flash, NOR flash, SDE MMC, quad-octal SPI, HyperRAM flash, and a wide range of other interfaces for connecting peripherals such as WLAN, Bluetooth, GPS, displays and camera sensors. It covers a lot of different things. The i.MX RT1170 also has rich audio and video features including MIPI, CSI/DSI, an LCD display driver, graphic accelerator, camera interface, SPDIF and 12S audio interface. It covers a huge amount of separate features that, well, on this device aren't used but could well be on some of the others. Now I could go on and on and on about the i.MX RT1170 processor, but I don't think I will. I think just from that little bit of information you've learned a huge amount about what this thing can do and what it can't do. Or let me put it this way, the processor can do, but it may not have been implemented on this particular device. But don't think that the device is some sort of slouch, because it isn't. Very interesting chip is the MX RT1170-6 DVM AA that this one uses. Well, let's move on a bit further. Well, we've got more in there, of course, such as DRAM. And you can see that sitting next to the processor. That's the eTronTech EM63A165 BM chip. Well, in fact, there's two of them. What they are is IC DRAM 256 megabit parallel 54 FPGA, and the typical supply time is about 4 weeks for those. A detailed description says the SDRAM memory, the IC 256 meg, which is 16 meg times 16, the parallel 200 megahertz 4.5 nanoseconds 54-FGBA. So there, let's put it this way, they do the job spiffingly. Is that a word? Anyway, on to the next one. Now, a lot of people will know that the ADC and the DAC are important components when you're actually working on anything to do with audio. In fact, without them, there is no audio. So I would say that, yeah, they're pretty critical. Now, inside this unit, you've got a thing called a PCM 1840. Anyway, there it is on the screen. You can see it now, and it's a PCM 1840. It's a high-performance Burr Brown audio analog to digital converter. It supports simultaneous sampling up to 4 analog channels. The device supports different line and microphone inputs with 2-VRMS full-scale signal. The device integrates microphone bias voltage, a phase-locked loop, a DC removal high-pass filter, and supports sample rates up to 192 kHz, as I've already said. It's a pretty powerful device for what it is, really. The device supports time division multiplexing, I2S or left justified audio format selectable with the hardware pin level. Additionally, the PCM1840 supports master and slave mode selection for the audio bus interface operation. These integrated high performance features, along with the ability to be powered from a single supply of 3.3 volts, makes the device an excellent choice for cost sensitive, space constrained audio systems in far field microphone recording applications. So the device can be used in 1,000 different uses, and this is one of them. So I would say that's a pretty decent device, and it's made by Texas Instruments, by the way. Okay, the last one I'm going to discuss with you, or just talk about in general, is a thing called a 4454 DAC, or digital to analog converter. I'll read it because, I don't know all about it, do you? No, of course not. But it sounds interesting, and it's a very critical component within the whole thing, so I'd say we should cover it really. It's the AK4454 as a 32-bit 4-channel premium DAC. It achieves industry's best low distortion characteristics by a newly developed low distortion technology. So it's no slouch. It corresponds to a 768 kHz PCM input and 11.2 MHz DSD input at maximum, suitable for playback high resolution audio sources that are becoming widespread in network audio. How interesting. USB DACs and car audio systems as well. In addition, OSR doubler technology is newly adopted, making the AK4454 capable of supporting wide range signals and achieving low out-of-band noise while realizing low power consumption. Always important. Moreover, the AK4454 has 5 types of 32-bit digital filters, realizing simple and flexible sound making in a wide range of applications. And they can be used in, hundreds of different types of products, including AV receivers, CD players, network audio, USB DAC, USB headphones, sound plate bars, car audio, automotive external amplifiers, measuring instruments, control systems, and I'm damn sure a lot more. It doesn't look much, does it? But none of them ever do. And that's what you've got to be careful with when you're looking at this sort of stuff. Don't assume by what's on the outside of the book is what's on the inside. It's rather different with the type of technology kicking around today. Small, tiny chip, massive results. Very interesting stuff. You see, you wouldn't really think a little device like this, it's got so much technology built in it. And bear in mind, it's got that USB-C, so we can go and interrogate the product with software designed to create different results in a simple way, like an editor. Now, I'm just going to talk for a really short time about the company itself. You know, you don't want to buy a product from somebody that might not be there in 3 months' time and that sort of thing. Cherub Technology owns 3 companies. There's Cherub, there's Mesa, and there's NUX, which is this brand. So they have 3 brands, and believe it or not, from those 3 brands, they have $24 million revenue. So they're probably going to be around a long time. And from what I see of them and all the other devices they've got, they really will be around a long time. I mean, even for this series here, I think there's 13 different pedals just in the one series. So they must be selling, substantial numbers of everything they make. I know they do tuners and all sorts of things. What I like to see about any company like that is that they're successful, because to buy a product from someone who isn't successful might not be a good idea. In this case, Well, I doubt you'll go far wrong with that. By the way, the NUX brand has been around, I believe, since 2006. Yeah, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but it's been a long time, and as I said, the entire company was originally put together by two engineers back in 1997. Now, when we get to the software coming up anytime soon, you'll find that as well as it being an amp modeler, I've already said it's got IRs, but it's also got these effects too. One of them's a reverb there, but we'll get to have a look when we get a bit nearer to this thing. The manual itself is over here. It's not a very big manual, but it covers a load of stuff, and it does show you some of the settings and the setups, and also the software that we might want to, well, we're going to look at, irrespective of anything else. It's editing software, and it all looks pretty good to me. Yeah, it's got some pretty interesting things going on. Yeah, we'll come to that. Well, I hope all them chips were interesting. I like them. I like to have a good look at what's going on inside this stuff, because when all's said and done, over the years I've listened to lots of people telling me about how powerful their processors were and all this rubbish, and they were $500 each, and all the junk that, well, you knew wasn't true. These guys haven't said anything like that, of course. These are more down to earth than the fractal audios of this world, as they used to be. Maybe they're still the same, who knows. Looking at the amps anyway, what's inside this thing? Yeah, well, I did take a quick look at the manual here, just to find out what the amps are, actually. I was sort of guessing them a bit earlier, but what they are, I've noted them down here. It's my own writing, I'm afraid. But let's run through them. That vintage one is a Fender twin reverb. Yeah, a lot of guys like the old Fender sounds, don't they? And you've got a reverb on it, no less. The classic one is a Fender Vibro King. Now that's a less common amp, I would have thought. But that's the one they've chosen. So Vibro King was around for about 10 or 12 years, I think. Ended its life, I think, in the early 2000s, maybe. I could be wrong. But that's the classic one. And then they say the modern amp is a Mesa Boogie, but it's a Mesa Boogie Mark 1. What are they calling that modern? Where have these guys been? I know what they mean, but it isn't actually modern. It's more modern, let's put it that way. Yeah. Moving along, we then move on to the brown switch, which is a Friedman HBE, it says. Yeah, this one's built better than the Friedman I saw. Another story. Red is a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier. It's got to be anti when it's red. Yeah. Yeah, that should be interesting. I've had a number of them over the years, and yeah, great amps. And the last one, the Iridium, said it was a Bogner Uberschall. Yeah. Do you know, I've never had a Uberschall myself, but I've got a diesel just over there. Yeah, that's a diesel Hagen, and that's a pretty powerful amp. That's really something to behold. Along with lots of other amps I've got in here. But that's the list. Those are the models. What more can I say? There's loads of stuff on here. Now, for the guys that want to throw their amp away, you've seen them. I'm not really one of them myself, but I get it. You know, you're lugging all that heavy stuff around. Well, you can come out the side here and go off into the PA, or you could come out the side and go off into the studio if you're in a studio, or you could come out of this in the side, well, at the back, should I say, for this one, and whiz that off into your amp. You can even put effects into this send and return that's on it. I mean, it covers such a massive amount of different things. Yeah, what's not to like? Well, maybe the sound's not to like. Well, we'll get to that. I do want to show you all the sort of tones that I get out of it. Now, well, I'll be pretty sure my Fender tones won't be the Fender tones that you can get out of it. Mine will be, well, okay. Now, while we're rattling on about IRs, well, we haven't been, but we're going to. IRs are the sort of thing that are like a speaker simulate, well, what they are is they're like a filter. And they can make the output of this with these different IRs sound, well, like different speaker cabs. They can sort of take into account the speaker that was used under this and that and the other. Don't worry too much about it. The only one thing that matters is as long as you find your speaker IRs, or should I say your IR files, are suited for what you like. Nothing else matters, does it? This one, believe it or not, it says here it's got 1,024 samples. 1,024 IR resolution with third-party IR loader capacity. So if you can find some more, it makes it easy to bring your favourite amp sound everywhere. And then it will tell you the sort of technical bits here. There's 6 IR slots with amp slots, 12 chop tones custom IRs, plus 16 user slots. That's 32-bit, 48 kHz. Amp Academy Editor will convert the wave format automatically. You can get 10 free factory IRs while downloading the edit software too. Now listen, some of these IRs, I've seen them on the internet with 4,000 free. I mean, they can all get so easily far too much. If you're not familiar with IRs and the rest of it, which some guys won't be, you mark my words about that, well, walk, don't run. Don't go and get your 4,000 IRs and think you're going to be sounding just like them records tomorrow, because I doubt you will be. What I would say is find the nicest ones out of what's there, and then you can work on the odd IR. If you want to go buy some from someone else, well, at a future date, or you can just download the free ones. IRs are a thing up on themselves, but do remember that you can turn them on and off, so when you're using a real guitar amp, probably got tubes, the IR won't interfere with its sound. Great point. Yeah, so this thing covers every base, whether you're in the studio, whether you're in your bedroom, whether you're going through a PA at front of house, or, well, anything else you want to do. All sounds like a plan. Okay, well, the first thing you want to do is to put the device into this firmware update mode, and basically you hold these two down and plug in. Keep them held down. Scene indicator's blinking, and that means you're in the correct mode to update the firmware. Okay, well, as you can see here, the date of this later software is 2022-06-20. So it's the 20th of the 6th, 2022. So that's the latest software. And what I'm going to do is say start update, fix Pro Science patch, whatever that is. And now it'll go away and update the software, or the firmware should I say, to the latest version. And then we can get down to having a look at the actual editor as opposed to, well, looking at firmware. Well, firmware is always important. I would always say to you, go and check the firmware no matter what. Where I come from, it always looks to me that, well, it's essential work that should be done. Thankfully, I've only got to do it now. That's done it. Okay, well, now we should be able to go into the version 2 NUX Amp Academy, version 2.2.627. We'll click that. You should be able to open that now, and with a bit of luck, it should see the pedal. But we'll see. Oh, does anything come on? Yeah, it does. And you can see, just by hitting the buttons, that this screen's changing. I'm just pressing the buttons on the device from A to B, so it's all there to see. It's pretty interesting stuff, really, if you take a quick look at this. I don't know what we're on at the moment with this device, but that's how it's just come straight from nowhere, so I think we'll get down to having a bit of a look in a moment. Okay, well, as you can see, there's the screen with Amp Academy. Got the NUX software running. It all looks pretty simple really. I'm not going to go through to the nth degree, by the way. I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview of what you get on a pedal that looks as simple as this, that can be as complex as this. It's quite an amazing situation really. So let's have a look. First of all, I like to look at, well, what we can set up. Let's have a look in there. Input Amp Academy, Output Amp Academy. Well, that's fine. Just leave that as it is for now. That relates to MIDI, by the way. Then we got the routing mode. We've got normal or loopback, dry or wet. It's self-explanatory really. We can reamp the thing. A lot of this is covered in the manuals, by the way, so I don't intend to make this a training video, as often it is. But there's a lot of bits and pieces in there. You can see the firmware's there, versions there, MIDI editor mode. We can refresh it. I'm not going to do it, but I'll just say OK for now. So let's have a look at it from this side and move across and all the rest. So if you look at channel A up here, we've got a choice of amplifiers. And I think the first one is we want to be a twin reverb, which there it is. Now we can set this up for the twin reverb mode and change a load of things in the path. This is the path down here. We've got a noise reduction. We've got an effect, number of effects, currently on that one. So we've got compressors, boosters, tube screamers, usual sort of stuff. There's nothing dynamic in there, but of course on a pedal of this caliber for this price, I think it's a pretty good job. And I can do the same with the noise reduction, by the way. It's a noise gate. Well, that's all we can do in that one for the time being. But when we look at these, you can see that we can change various parameters on wherever the device is. So if I go back into the EFX and look at the red dirt, well, here's the drives and things we can change and turn it on, or I can turn it off, and currently it's turned off on that one, as you can see. Now we're on Pro Scene 1. Let's have a look at channel B. You know we've got an A and a B on the pedal itself. If I look at channel B, we've got a number of different ones here. Fireman. Yeah, well, mine nearly set afire when I had mine, but that's another story. And then we've got these others that we can use. Well, I'm going to put that on Fireman for now. You can see it there. Okay, so we've got the brown one there and we've got the classic one there. Moving along a bit, we've got then the IRs. The IRs, well, if I click on that with my right button, I can also see there's a pile of these in here. And this one happens to be set up for the Friedman one. Well, I dare say if I go back across to that amp, then the IRs are probably set up, well, fancy that, for the basic Fender twin. So they're already patched and matched. Sounds good, doesn't it? Yeah, so when we're in this one, we get the IRs that are suitable for that. But you could use any of them. And of course, you can go down here on all these others. We then have an EQ. We can look at a 6-band EQ. Well, that's the only one on here. But once again, it's quite, you know, you can turn it on, level it off, not level it off. Do whatever you want with it. Send and return, so we can control that from here as well. Okay, and we've got a reverb. Let's have a look at that. Usual stuff. Number of reverbs, room, hall, plate, spring and damping. And again, we can decay, level it, and all the controls that you'd expect on a simple type of reverb. We can turn it on and off from here. Okay, moving along a bit further, we've got these Pro Scenes. Now this is to do with the scene button here. And we can preset up the Pro Scenes that fit on S1, S2 and S3 up at the top, and it rotates through the 3. So if I want to look at the other ones, this one's got the effects turned on. For example, you can see various pieces going on and off for those 3 Pro Scenes. For each one of the amplifiers that you can choose. Quite clever really. I'll leave it where it is for now. You've got a USB audio section here. I haven't got that set up because it's just on a PC doing nothing really. Read your manual, it won't be difficult. You can go bright or not. Oh, I didn't notice that one. We've got an in volume and an out volume and a DI. Now one of the things about this, if you look at these switches here, yes, I'm turning off the speaker simulator and you'll probably see on the screen how it goes off and on. Can you see that? There we go, all nice and simple. Anyway, moving along a bit further, if you're looking at this, this is the IR section, and this is the speaker that we're looking at. I dare say we can go and choose a pile of them. I'm not going to, I'm just showing you the one that's there. We can adjust these things here, which all relate to this. That's the frequency along the bottom and the magnitude going up the side. And if we wanted to use other IRs, for example, if we haven't got any, well, I can go and click on chop tones there, and it should take me, well, as you can see, to Chop Tone's website. Now there should be a section, maybe not yet. As you can see down here, there's a NUX section, but I'm not sure it's quite got it in here yet. You've got to remember this pedal is absolutely brand new. Well, as you can see from what I've shown you very briefly, by the way, you can write these things out. So when I'm on my classic, set like so, and the rest set like so, I can click the little thing here and that'll push it all out. It's all really, to be honest, it's really good. For this sort of money, you couldn't expect anything better than that. You know, for editing and this sort of thing. Bear this in mind, that when you go and have a look at the UA, the Dream 65, there was none of this. You couldn't do any of this, or at least you couldn't at the time I did the review. So bearing in mind the price of this pedal, it's a pretty wonderful pedal really. Well, enough of that for now. Let's go back up top. I hope you've seen just enough to get your appetite really wet on this one, because I think it's pretty good if you want the truth. Well, there you have it. Basically, you get an awful lot for your money. This is about £179 or something like that, in that sort of area. And I've spoken about the price before, earlier in the video. But if you think what's packed inside this thing, with that software control and the rest of it, remember this, with the UA Dream 65, you don't get any of that control. You basically, well, to be honest, you're getting one amplifier. With this thing, you're getting 6. Now, while I can agree with you that you could say, well, you're only getting an A and a B, that's only half the truth, because you can actually use these switches to force the thing into other things. So it's 6 amplifiers, it's 6 sets of speakers. I think there's 10 IRs provided and 18 slots where you can add them, as I showed you, although I didn't actually number them. There they are. So NUX has got a pretty good product on their hands, I think. I do think, though, it's got some shortcomings. They all will have. And I think that when you step back, it depends what you're trying to do. If you're one of these guys that's trying to sort of get rid of the amp, so to speak, and have one of these into front of house and the rest, it's very good. Now I do want to move on to warranty. I always talk about warranty, and I think it's very essential for any pedal. This pedal has a 1-year warranty, just like most of the others that are out there, I guess. There's nothing like a 5-year warranty or anything crazy like that. Well, it wouldn't be crazy to me. It might be to you. But scarily, once again, look across at the UA Dream. Great pedal, don't get me wrong. Check my review. It's linked from down below, maybe, or not. But at least it's on my channel. But if you look at this is twice the price, well, give or take, of this one. And they both only have 1-year warranty. And I did point out on that UA Dream 65 that the warranty I thought was a bit miserable for a £350 pedal. Now that could be the case on all of the other £350 pedals out there that I could name, but I don't think I will because you already know them. So consider what you're getting for the price you pay for this pedal. And that's one of the things that interests me, is it's a great deal. Well, let's consider a few of the things I like about it. What I like and what I don't like. Well, I do like that it's got 6 amps in it. I think it's excellent value. I do like it's got a reverb. I do like it's got a noise reduction, which you might want when you start getting on some of them hyper-driven rock amps. I'll call them that. Rock and beyond, in fact. So I like all that stuff. I also like the fact that you can turn the IR off around the back here. Yeah, I think that's good. Because if you want to put it into an amp and get these different sounds, well, you still can. I also like the fact that you can lift the ground on the DI, because you can get problems in a studio like this. For that sort of thing. I also like the fact that they've got a USB-C on there, rather than the older USB that, well, right down there right now, Roland used. This didn't use any old technology, and that older pedal down there, I won't name it, but it isn't that old. So I like to see all of that. You'll find on this this pedal that it doesn't come with a power supply. I don't really like that, but you've got to bear in mind that it's a cheaper pedal than most of the other £350 ones out there that don't really offer that much difference. It's true that sound is subjective, but, well, if you like the sounds in this one, there'd be no reason to buy the other ones at double the price. Consider it that way. What else don't I like? Well, I thought the manual, there's a manual over here, it's a little bit, I wouldn't say it's entirely basic. It's not. But it's a little bit basic compared to some competitors. And I think that one of the good things about that is that while it's a small, tiny manual, it doesn't look like there's much to learn. In fact, you're going to end up going onto their website, the NUX Effects YouTube channel, where they actually show you a video of how to use that thing, rather than me sitting here all day. I think that's a positive, really, although it's a negative, if you get me. What I don't like is another thing I don't like. Well, I say I don't like it. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that it's not there to not like, or it's not there to like. That's the best phrase. See, when I look at this one, I know it's a different type of pedal, but I look at this one, and this one's stereo or mono. Well, this one, well, it isn't. It's mono or mono. And that's fine depending on what you do, how you're going to use this. But I'd love to see this in stereo for studio use, rather than, and by studio use, I don't mean the streaming out of this into the desk or whatever. You can really have fun with this. Yeah, just pulling it out analog wise and all the rest of it, just for a quick job, so to speak. So I liked a lot of the things about this. I like the fact that it's got an earphone socket, but I don't like the fact that it looks like a 2.5 or a 3.5mm socket, which never really goes down well, and it's going to snap off sooner or later. That won't be covered under any warranty. So that is some of the things I don't like. But overall, wow, man, there's a lot of things to like. I like the build quality inside, you know, that was really as good as it gets. And for a dual processor, and you've got the thing running at 1 gigahertz, well, it makes sense to say you shouldn't ignore looking at this pedal. With the 6 amps, I do actually like the sounds. They're not bad sounds. They're not quite of the same quality as some of the others, but some of the others can be triple the price of this unit, and you've really got to take this sort of thing into account. And if you're like me, I don't use these every day, but I know when I've got a use for one, whether it be this one whether it be this one that's really 6, or whether it's any of the others that I've got kicking around in here. I've even got the Boss GT1000 core lying down there on the floor. Every one of these devices, they all have a place, and there's no exception with this one. So yeah, all very interesting. Thought it was really worth looking at, and I hope you have too so far. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to look at with this pedal, and I haven't really gone to the nth degree, although it's not a short video, is it? So finally, there's nothing really much left except to hear it and all that sort of thing, and give it a score. So how would I score it out of 10? I gave this one a 10. Well, I would. I mean, it's not really a pedal that I'd use very often, is that? But it was impeccable. When I look at this one, I can see that it's slightly lower cost. I can tell it is. But there's no stereo on it and things like that. But you know what? This has got advantages over and against the UA Dream 65. And the UA Dream 65's got advantages over this. For example, like I said earlier, that can be in stereo, this one can't. But this one's got 6 amps and that one hasn't. And that one's twice the price of this one. So, NUX, Amp Academy, what's the model? An NGS-6. This gets a 10 out of 10 too. Oh, Tony, it can't be as good as the other one. Well, it is, but in a different way. And so I want you to think about why I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 for what it does in comparison to a pedal like that also got a 10 out of 10. Yeah, so the audio's coming up, well, anytime soon, and what we've got planned is this. I have a word with my mate, Alan Bruce, and I said, well, it's got 6 amps, we can have 3 each. And what we propose to do, well, we're going to do, is to, for each one of the amps, use a different guitar. Yeah. So I'll use a sort of Fendery style for the Fender amp I have, and he'll use a sort of Fendery style for the Fender amp he has. Then we'll move into the middle range of stuff and use 2 guitars for that. And then we'll move into the sort of uber metal. And we'll use 2 guitars for that. So overall you're going to see 6 guitars going through this 1 amp. Or is it 1 amp? Is it 6 amps? Anyway, it's going to be very nice, worth looking at. And I think you should watch it. And don't forget, make sure you subscribe, make sure you ring that bell, and tick all, because those 3 things. Oh, don't forget the thumbs up as well. Yeah, we want a thumbs up. I'm not going to say anything, but that's what you need to do. Then I can make some more for you. And also, don't forget to go to www.jonnyMckenzie.com if you want to. And by the way, down in the text below, the links to all this stuff, the NUX FX website, and all that sort of stuff, the stuff that I didn't really go into any ultra depth with, you can go and watch their videos. And it's worth watching the one on using this thing, this piece of editor, which I thought was all really pretty good, especially for that money. Well, that's it for now. Yeah, I'm going to say get out of here, and you can go and have a listen to how it all went on.